Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Bliss. I am ABD in my PhD in American Culture Studies at Bowling Green State University. Usually, I'm at this hotel for DragonCon, so it's kind of weird to be on this side of the table when I'm usually in the audience. Anyway, this all started as a part of a 2021 PCA presentation about the use of the theory of metaculture in studying fandoms, a presentation that turned into an article in the Journal of Fandom Studies. Some of this presentation comes directly from that article, but I couldn't let go of the thought that the real product of any season of American Idol, or similar shows like X Factor or The Voice, is an audience and fan base for the artists that compete on the show, not the artists themselves. As I worked on my dissertation, which uses metaculture to examine Hamilton, I started to apply metaculture to American Idol and Glamberts, leading here. I originally thought this would be a journal article, but I'm starting to think it's a book. This presentation focuses on how the artists' actions on the show create their fan base and audience support. Since we're in a fandom panel, I'm running with the assumption that everyone knows what a fandom is, even in a broad sense, so I'm going to skip right to explaining what metaculture is and a brief summary of what American Idol is, especially in Season 8. Dr. Greg Urban developed the theory of metaculture and wrote his book, Metaculture: How Culture Moves Through the World, explaining it using a variety of examples. Put simply, metaculture is culture about culture. Urban states that culture must keep moving or else it dies. Sometimes culture is able to keep moving without needing to change, inertial culture. Often, some changes are required to keep it moving and alive, accelerative culture. He describes three types of texts and objects: alpha, beta, and omega. Alpha is the original object or text. Beta is a copy of alpha, sometimes with minor changes, but is still recognizably alpha. Omega is something new, something that keeps culture moving forward and alive. A successful omega object or text still has recognizable elements of at least one alpha, sometimes more, so while it's new, people still recognize it, understand it, and pass it along. If it's not passed along, it doesn't do much to keep culture alive, does it? This is a basic explanation, but things should become clear when I get to analyzing American Idol. American Idol debuted on Fox on June 11, 2002. Based on the British show Pop Idol, the premise of the show is the search for the next American Idol. While what that means is never quite clear when listening to the judges' feedback, who performs on the live shows and wins the competition, aka the next American Idol, is up to the audience. During Season 8, every week after the performances are finished for the night, audiences vote for their favorite contestant by calling or texting specific numbers assigned to each performer. The next night, the contestant with the lowest number of votes is sent home. This process repeats until a winner is chosen from the original 12, or 13 in the case of Season 8. In 2008, Adam Lambert decided to quit his position as understudy for Fiyero/company member of Wicked in LA and audition for American Idol Season 8. After coming in second place on Season 8, he became a popular solo artist as well as a part of the collaboration Queen plus Adam Lambert, something that happened due to Queen being part of the season finale, performing We Are the Champions with Lambert and eventual winner Chris Allen. Lambert released his first album in 2009, and another 4 albums since, in addition to EPs and singles, establishing himself as a global pop rock artist. There are 3 elements of any episode of American Idol that are important to understand in order to see how a fan base and audience are created by the show: the finalist's transformation of an existing text, putting on a show, and receiving feedback. In the case of Season 8, Adam Lambert uses these elements successfully to create a fandom that is still very supportive and active today, Glamberts. Let's start at the beginning, transforming existing texts. For every solo performance, it's up to the singers which song to perform. Song choice is important for a few reasons. Picking the right song to sing for your voice and to show what you can do is important. Throughout the season, it's common to hear at least one judge say some variation of, "You chose the wrong song for you," after the performance. For example, when people refer to Lambert's audition, they're referring to him singing the beginning of Bohemian Rhapsody because that's what was aired. What wasn't aired until the after show after the finale is he first sang Michael Jackson's Rock With You, which didn't quite resonate with the judges. He quickly offered to sing Bohemian Rhapsody because he really wanted to get through to Hollywood, and the rest is history. Another reason to pick a song that is familiar to the judges, and more importantly, the audience, is so they can have something to judge the performance on. The song someone chooses is the alpha text in each performance. Picking an obscure song that the voting audience may not be familiar with could result in going home because they don't know what the song is supposed to sound like. Ultimately, song choice is the most important choice a singer has throughout the season because it sets the tone for the rest of the performance as well as define who they are as an artist. If you want to be known as a country artist, you're not going to sing Bohemian Rhapsody as performed by Queen, which brings me back to the metaculture of song choice, making it your own. Common feedback from the judges, especially once the competition moves to the main stage, is that a song sounds like karaoke. In metacultural terms, that performance is an alpha text or a beta text that differs very little from the original or the most well-known version of the song. Performances that tend to get the most praise from the judges, typically keeping the singer in the competition, are either beta texts that are less like the original or omega texts that maintain a connection to the alpha. Lambert's performances tended to be omega texts throughout the competition, with a few beta takes on some songs. In round 3 of Hollywood Week, he began the round with an omega take on Cher's Believe that he later performed when Cher was honored by the Kennedy Center in 2018, moving her to tears. His performance of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire for Grand Ole Opry Week was similar to the arrangement used by Delana on Rockstar Supernova, with instruments from Southwest Asia and Northern Africa, taking a different approach to the country classic. While this was only week 2 of the main stage performances, it was clear Lambert had no interest in being a country music artist and worked on an arrangement that better reflected his identity. A few weeks later, after his beta performance of Michael Andrews and Jerry Jules' cover of Mad World, Cowell gave Lambert a standing ovation, something Cowell has never done before or has done since. Throughout the season, the judges consistently comment that Lambert stays true to who he is as an artist, giving audiences weekly pieces of an Adam Lambert concert, something no other artist was told during that season, and something that clearly resonated with the audience since he ended the season in second place. Those judges' comments are important because being on American Idol is about more than simply singing well. It's about performing a song for an audience, which includes staging, lighting, choreography, wardrobe, hairstyle, and makeup. This is the main element I didn't understand about the show until I actually watched it. I thought, for some reason, that the contestants were told what to do in every aspect of their performance. Really, it's the complete opposite. They have a lot of control over what they present on the stage. I say a lot of because this is a live show during prime time on network television. Certain standards need to be followed for the performance to be aired. There are some exceptions to their control, but even then, they are showing the audience who they are as an artist. One exception is the group performances during the results show of the week. No one had any say in the song, staging, or choreography. I have the impression their own personal style was up to them, but they would tailor it to the song. A heads up, this next clip does have some flashing lights present. For example, week 7's theme was disco, and the group performance was choreographed by Paula Abdul, who did not go easy on them. When you look at the group performance, you can see everyone went for their personal interpretation of disco. The first thing that stood out to me is how Lambert is the only one not wearing sunglasses. If they were given wardrobe, the producers wouldn't have just one person not wearing something as obvious as sunglasses. The other exception to their control is the Ford commercials filmed each week during season 8. I don't know if all the videos had wardrobe provided, but the commercial that used Britney Spears' Circus definitely did. The behind-the-scenes footage showed the cast getting their clothing from the rack and having their hair and makeup done. This one stands out to me because everyone, no matter their gender, had glittery eye makeup for at least some of the video, and Lambert was definitely the most comfortable with it and the theatricality of the magic show that was the theme of the commercial. I doubt that surprised many people at that point in the season, and I was definitely not surprised at all, since I was coming to it after seeing how much he uses makeup and theatricality in his career, and knowing he's queer. How anyone thought this man was straight, I have no idea. But how the singer looks on stage during their performance is up to them. They're given an extensive toolbox to use for their performance. a live band, which is sometimes on stage with them, a wardrobe budget, stylists, a stage, input on lighting, a screen behind them. Even before I became a Glambert, I felt Lambert used that toolbox the best throughout the season. Every time he was on stage was different than the previous. He also noticed what others were doing and would aim for the opposite mood at times. For example, for Motown Week, he did an acoustic version of Smokey Robinson's Tracks of My Tears, where he was seated for the performance and wore no makeup or nail polish, while others did more upbeat performances. Or, as Robinson, the mentor for the week, put it, Lambert, quote, kept it tender and sweet and soft, and I've never heard it done like that, end quote, and, quote, was very proud of Adam's interpretation of that song, end quote. During Disco Week, he turned the Bee Gees' song If I Can't Have You into an emotional ballad, which stood out among the upbeat disco songs by the others. His Mad World performance was simple. Backlit by blue lighting, remaining seated for the first half of the performance, slowly standing at a corresponding point in the song. Every week, the finalists have a chance to give audiences another peek into what their concert might look like, combining their singing ability with their stage presence and ability to put on a show, hoping they get positive feedback, aka enough votes, from the audience to keep them in the competition. The show is not so much about how the judges think the contestant performed, as it's about how the audience at home thinks the contestants performed. The show uses the connection between audience and text to create a new dialogue between them. Instead of simply watching and supporting the show by affecting ratings, they have a say in how the show continues every week through their votes. In Season 8, after Lambert performed Black or White for Michael Jackson Night, his first performance on the main stage, Paula Abdul predicted that he would make it all the way to the finale. In that same episode, Abdul said the same thing about another contestant, Danny Gokey. Weeks later, the top 3 revealed Abdul was going to be wrong about one of them. Lambert and Gokey were wondering who would move on to the finale. Eventually, Seacrest revealed that Lambert would be in the finale. In the end, Lambert came in second to Chris Allen after a record-setting number of votes cast by the audience. But on Idol, the audience is just as much a character on the show as the hosts, judges, and contestants. Ryan Seacrest, host of the show, constantly addresses the character of America throughout each episode. He greets America. He informs America how it has voted. He asks the judges their opinion on how America voted when the bottom 3 are nervously standing there awaiting their fate. Even the competitors refer to America when defending their performances, reminding us that America is the one who decides who stays and goes, not the judges. For example, after Lambert finished his top 3 performances, 3 of the judges were saying they'd be seeing him next week. Simon Cowell took time to remind America that they needed to vote to make sure Lambert would move on to the finale where he belonged. Cowell reminded both the audience and his fellow judges that it's not up to the 4 of them who moves on, it's up to America. But much of America is made up of fan bases and fandoms for the artists, especially at that point in the competition. Glambert is the term that the fandom created to describe itself, a portmanteau of glam and Lambert, inspired by Lambert's glam rock and generally glamorous aesthetic. Glamberts would not exist how they do currently without American Idol. It's entirely possible that Lambert would have become a recording artist and a fandom would have formed, but it wouldn't be the same as the current fandom. It likely would have taken him longer. He's shared that's why he auditioned for Idol. He'd been trying to break into the industry for a few years with no success, often being rejected because of his aesthetic. The reason the fandom exists the way it does today is because Glamberts are one of the real lasting products of American Idol Season 8, not Adam Lambert, the recording artist. If it had been up to the judges, according to many, Lambert would have won with Danny Gokey coming in second. But it was up to the audience at home and how often they could vote for their favorite idol, thus making Lambert the runner-up and Allen the winner. The existing networks and pathways of television broadcasting, discussion of the show among journalists and friends, and the ability for people to vote for who they want are all used in new ways with American Idol. Before Idol, the effect of the discussions, the metaculture of the show was likely limited to expanding the audience. By bringing the audience into the progress of the show through voting, the show becomes something important to their daily lives. They become invested in a specific music artist before that artist has a professional career. While the only place to see the artists performing is on American Idol, fandoms are being formed. Idol takes existing formats, texts, objects, and networks and uses them in new ways, creating a culture around the contestant's future career and an Omega object, a fandom for an artist without a career. In creating this relationship with the audience, American Idol becomes an example of accelerative culture that keeps things moving forward. The many roles the audience plays each season is that new element that makes Idol an Omega object instead of another beta. It's not just that audiences were no longer passive elements in the equation, but they were more active than had been seen on television before. Whereas there is the judging panel of music industry professionals, they have no direct effect on what happens to the contestants once they make it to the live shows. The judges do put hundreds of thousands of people through the multi-stage audition process to decide who gets to perform on the live shows with no input from the audience. Once the live performances begin, the judges simply provide their opinions. The audience can do whatever they want with them, including ignoring them, when deciding whom to vote for and advance in the competition. There's a lot more to this, which is why I'm leaning towards this becoming a book. But I needed to start somewhere, and starting with the metacultural analysis felt right. I look forward to your questions, comments, and thoughts during the discussion later. Thank you.